So part 4 is where we are going to cover prerequisite skills for learning. And it is divided into 4 subtopics. Topic 1, we're going to cover expanding awareness and attention in our child. Topic 2, we're going to cover understanding causal relationship. Number 3, we're going to cover reinforcement expansion. And lastly, we're going to cover emotional and behavioral regulation in our child. So these are prerequisite skills for any kind of learning, and it will help our child understand and become more aware of their environment, themselves, deal effectively and adapt effectively to their environment. So let's begin. So the first part is expanding awareness and attention. So when we are aware of our environment, when we are attending to our environment is when we learn. So it's very important for our child to expand their ability to attend for longer durations of time. If they are not able to do that for a long duration, that's okay. We'll start with few seconds. We'll keep on adding to that. Start from where your child is at present and slowly and gradually extend that duration, increase their awareness. So there are certain examples of proto imperative point, desire for a specific thing, or they like certain things. So if they want, for example, a biscuit, pointing to that specific thing, that is proto imperative pointing. So if you want certain things, you point to that. That is something which is very important. And if our child does not have that, we teach them that pointing, proto imperative pointing. Make situations where you create that kind of a temptation, that kind of environment. Initially, give them prompts or help them out, give them those gestures, help them make those gestures, and then gradually go on to help making them independent. Then there's proto-declarative pointing, that is desire to share an experience with someone. So that is social connection, which is important. So if I like birds, for example, I point to that bird in excitement. Okay, that is pointing. So when you're sharing is also when you're learning. So you're being more aware of the environment, more things in the environment. So if I am pointing like that, and you add more things, oh, that's a bird, it can fly. So that helps child learn gradually. So pointing is very important. So that ways the adults can help the child learn. If the adult points and the child is paying attention, that means they are also learning at that time as well. They're knowing more things. The vocabulary is increasing. If I don't know what that is, and if I'm just pointing to that and mama says it's a bird, so I will associate that particular thing with bird, and I learn that. So that will expand my awareness, which is very important. So that will expand my learning. So those kind of things, if it is not there in your child, you definitely start working on the pointing skills. You can engage in sensory plays with your child. Just make mystery boxes. It's so much fun. Have a lot of autistic kids like sensory items of different textures. So just add those kind of things into that mystery box. Mystery box is basically where they cannot see, but they can feel it. So then you can add word to that. You can bring it out and show it later. So that could have soft things like teddy bear. It could have rough things. It could have different textures, different colors, lights, kind of a toys could be inside that. Could be anything. It definitely has what the kid is interested in, their likes, and you can add other things in terms of textures and stuff like that. Add vocabulary to that. Just help them enjoy that process of mystery box. Show the excitement when the thing comes out of the box initially. So just be playful there. Go take your kids outside to the park. It's so useful, definitely so much useful. Going into the parks in the evenings, whenever you get time, definitely go take them outside. Play with them in the garden, in the park. engage in outdoor activities. That's going to expand their awareness, make them feel the flowers, the leaves, the grass. You can start with wherever you like. Just play with the kids, help them explore that sensory things, expand their awareness. So we need to be aware, that if for example, you can also do that at home, where you can create an environment where the child has to look around and find things for themselves, whatever they need. So you can just keep them a little far away, where they have to look and then go. So for example, if there is a pencil box that I need, it shouldn't be right there in front of me or the kid. Just make them more aware. You just keep it a little far away, probably engage into that pointing thing. Oh, pencil box. This is just an example, it could be anything. So then the child has to look. It's close, very close to the child. Initially we'll start with proximal distance, then we gradually go on to increasing that distance to increase their awareness. But start with little far away, just engage in pointing, helping them pay attention to that, and probably go and get that. And if, for example, if a toy falls down, or if something that they are engaging in right now, it falls away, they're playing with the ball, it just slips down and go a little far away. So rather than, as parents, a lot of times we have the habit of just going, grabbing a thing and giving it into a child's hand. Don't do that. Just help them, point to that. Rather than just going and giving it, help them go get that themselves, so they're more aware. Okay, my ball went there. Just help them in that process, which is what I'm talking about. Pay attention to the thing which was with me right now has gone a little far away. I can go and get that. So just help them become aware if they're not. It is very important skill. And you can find various situations at home where you can expand on these things. Let's go on to understanding causal relationship. So something leads to something is what we're working on. So there's cause and effect, which is what we need to teach our children. It is very important, and you yourself need to understand ABC consequences, like ABC of behavior. So there's antecedent, then there's behavior, and then there's consequence. So something that happens before a specific behavior is what we call antecedents. In the situation, what is happening? Was there a specific demand that was put on the child? So whatever is there coming before the behavior is the antecedent, and then there is the behavior, the child doing certain behavior. For example, if a child is clapping, or if a child is doing something, whatever, so that is the behavior that they're showing. If they're crying, that could be a behavior. They're making loud noise, could be a behavior, any behavior. Then the consequence would be what we did immediately after that. So is something which we call as occurring after the behavior, immediately after the behavior, few seconds. So that is something we need to be aware, so that we can change or modify the behavior of the child accordingly. So either we work on the antecedent or we work on the consequences. So that will determine whether a behavior will increase or decrease in the future in our child. So we need to pay attention to ABC of behavior. That will help us understand our child and why things are happening. Because a specific antecedent happened, there was a loud noise which my child was not able to deal with, then the behavior of screaming or doing like this occurred. Then the consequence, did that now did I help my child, comfort my child, or did I do something else that reduced the behavior? It could be anything. What was the consequence? So accordingly we can modify and change. We can understand our child initially and then help them accordingly. So that cause and effect relationship is very important, that our child understands. And you can use visual cards to teach them routines, expectations that we may have from them, teaching them consequences. This leads to this, and sequencing. This leads to this. way of doing things. There's a process, there are steps involved in that. So you can teach them. So these are the causal relation. This step leads to this step leads to this step. So just start with maybe 2 steps, 1 step. So just start from wherever your child is and gradually increase their level of understanding, helping them understand that causal relationship. And while doing activities, you can use the words first and then. You can use, if they're very good at reading, you could use the cards where first and then is written. So you can use those visual as well. And you can add the words so that their vocabulary is increased. And so first you do this, you put the ball in the basket, then you get the cookie or whatever. This is just an example. So first, then. First you say tickle, then you get the tickle. So first, then. So there's an association. Cause leads to this kind of an effect is what we're teaching. So just use any situation that you have at home, whether you're directly engaging and playing with the child or you're engaging in any social interaction, and use it first and then technique with them. And you can use words and gestures for help. So that if they have a specific difficulty understanding the process, so they can use the word help, because a lot of times kids get frustrated. So it's very important to teach them the gesture or the word help. So initially you model that and then help them learn to do that gesture or that word help. It's just one word. Just start with one word. You need my help and all those kind of things. Just start with one word. Gradually increase those things. Increase words in a sentence. Just start with one and add. That is the basic thing that you need to understand. And for example, there are a lot of toys that I have shown in my slide. So you can see that a specific way, if you touch the toy, specific sound comes up, or that the light comes up, or my ball goes round and round and round and comes down, my car goes round and round in a specific way, it comes out. So if I put it here, then it goes and comes out. So you can use those kind of sensory toys also initially to help your child understand that cause and effect relationship, the causal relationship. And if they're not able to do that themselves, but they like that movement, they like that sound, they like that light, so just help them learn that the way to touch the button, you do this. So you can use those prompts, that gesture physical prompts, and reduce that, and then help them become independent and play themselves. This is a way you can definitely work on at home and help your child understand the causal relationship. Coming up to reinforcement expansion. So that is very important. What is reinforcement? Reinforcement is basically something that our child likes, or something that is going to help increase the behavior in future. So it could be a reward, it could be something like that, which basically helps our child to display the behavior or that specific way of behaving more often. So that is reinforcement in simple terms. So we need to expand that. What does that supposed to mean? That is basically that our child may have very specific interest, our child may have very limited interest. So we need to expand onto that, because you cannot keep using specific reinforcements all the time. You cannot, for example, just use chips or snacks all the time, edibles all the time, to increase a specific behavior, to help them learn new skills. So you need to expand on that, is what I'm talking about. They like only specific toys, but we want to teach them, we want them to enjoy those kind of other toys as well, the way to play with it. So we need to expand on those things. So edibles could be there, toys could be there, social praises could be there, certain activities could be there that you can work on and increase the reinforcement there. For example, one of the kids, really liked to do that kickly or that round thing with an adult. So you play that kind of an activity with them. So ringa ringa roses kind of a thing is what I'm talking about. So those could be an activity that the child really likes, and they really enjoy that. So you can use that as a reinforcement if the child displays a specific skill or a behavior, and you reward them in that ways. Social praises: if a child only likes high five, you can add on other ways of social praises, wow, and other things. Just an example. Just expand onto the words that are used in social praises, the gestures that are used, the toys that are used, the food items that could be used. Expand onto those. And initially, we observe the interests or likes of the child, and we start on with those as reinforcements for them, and then we give more exposure. So we help them explore more, and once they explore more, then we can use what interests them as reinforcements. So if a child does not know how to play with a specific toy, that cannot be used as a reinforcement. So we help them explore, play with that toy, in a specific way. Just observe initially, then probably engage a little, then probably if that interests them, use that as reinforcements later. So that will also expand their awareness and their interest areas, and we can use that for our benefit as reinforcements. One thing which is very important with reinforcement is you need to fade those reinforcements. So we do not reinforce the behavior all the time forever. So when the child is acquiring the skill, you reduce that reinforcement and gradually just fade it off. And when the child is independent, we do not want them to be relying on the reinforcement for displaying a specific behavior. So fading is very important, and it's important to understand that our child has to be given a specific reinforcement for a specific duration time. Excess of anything is not going to be useful for us as well. So how long the reinforcement is being given, what kind of reinforcement is being given, and how do we fade that, all those things are very important when we are using that at home for teaching our child to learn. Okay. Coming up, lastly, to emotional and behavioral regulation, a very important subpart as well. So, what are the examples here? It's teaching them waiting skills to obtain an item, turn taking skills in play. So, they need to learn wait. So, if I'm so overwhelmed, I really like that toy, I really want to go on to that swing. So, wait. You can use the gestures, you can use cards, you can have to use the words, wait, waiting time, or wait, those kind of things. The kids need to learn that. So they have to regulate the desire to do it right now. So they have to wait for their turn. They have to deal with that. I just want this thing. I get frustrated. So helping them learn that waiting and turn taking skill, and they don't have to wait for really long. Just start with few seconds. Just start with few seconds, and then gradually add on to them. Just start from somewhere, and we'll add on to that, and then handing over reinforcements of items they like. So if I like an item, if I have got something as a reinforcement, I don't want to give it back. So if you ask me to give it back or if you snatch it, I'm going to get frustrated. So I'm going to get angry, I might cry, so I'm not able to regulate my emotions, and I show specific behaviors which are going to affect my ability to adjust. So it's also important that the child learns how to hand over those items as well. So we use that whenever we are using reinforcements. This will also help them regulate their emotions and behaviors. And sharing items with familiar adults. So if I like something a lot, I don't feel like sharing it. But if I go into social groups, I have to share things with kids. So I'll start with someone familiar, help them share it for a little while, and then add on to that. Just start from somewhere, and if I'm comfortable sharing it, I will get it back. If I share something with you, I'll get it back. So kind of trust building, that kind of a rapport, that kind of a love and attention, that affection. You need to work on those things that the child also, learns. So they share their items. Then teaching them how to ask for breaks. Example, using gestures or sounds or words during a less interesting activity. So definitely some activities are that your child really likes to do. Some activities they don't really like to do, but they're okay doing. Some things they just don't like to do, but they'll just do it for a little while. So we and I want breaks. For example, if I'm a child and I really want breaks, if you don't give me breaks, then I get frustrated. I'm not able to regulate my emotions. So probably you think I can sit for a specific amount of time, but I think right now I'm not feeling well. I need a break in between. I want to do the activity, but I need to take a break. For a small, for probably for a second, for a little while. So there, helping them, you know, break time or use the word break, or gesturing it, making a specific sound, word for it, will definitely help them communicate. So where there is communication, then they can deal with their behavior. So I'm able to communicate, an extreme behavior won't come up, you'll be able to understand. So that is very important, helping them learn that. And using the words and gestures initially, give full prompts, verbal and physical prompts, gestures, things like that, and then probably give them exposure where they can use it themselves. They can use visual cards, and reducing that dependence, making them more independent, and enhancing their ability to engage in non-preferred activity over a period of time. So as I mentioned that, so if I want to engage in certain activities that I really don't like, I can probably learn to do it for a little while. Probably later, after some time or after a few months, I just enjoy those activities as well. So I need to learn as a child to engage in non-preferred activity for a little while. Just start from somewhere is what I'm talking about at home. Just start from somewhere and then add on to it. And then learning to tolerate feedbacks like no. If an adult says no, so you're able to deal with that calmly. So you're able to regulate as a child your emotions and behavior. Probably communicate if you have a specific need or desire. Share that. So that will help as a child to regulate their emotions and not display a specific maladaptive behavior, and that leads to them adjusting effectively to their environment, enhancing their learning process, which is our basic aim. So that's very important. Emotional and behavioral regulation is very important at home as well.